Hi guys, welcome back to Studio Photography Workshops. My name is Stephanie Thornton, and today we're going to be looking at one of the edits from my workshop Futuristic Fashion, where we are doing a Photoshop edit on one of the collection. You can see the full workshop on the website, including the lighting, the posing, anything else you're thinking of, Lightroom, Photoshop. The whole thing is all on the website, studiophotographyworkshops.co.uk. I will see you there. So let's jump straight in and crack on with getting this image ready to match our other image that we've already shot from this futuristic fashion set. I'm not sure if this counts as futuristic fashion. I mean, it is a bit edgy, it is different, weird. But I don't know, I think futuristic fashion gives you like a whole range of different things. Like, ask everyone and they're all going to think of something completely different with the idea of futuristic fashion. So first thing, we're going to go around the image. We're going to find anything. There's some creases in the background. You may or may not be able to see. The point on the hat bugs me. No idea why, but it really does. That bit of hair bugs me. The rest of it is mostly acceptable, bar a few other bits. So we're going to go do that corrections first. Firstly, let's start with the background. We're just going to go around. There's a few little bits that are just where the paper sort of changed. There we go. Take these odd little hairs off that have caught the light. There's a dust spot up there. We'll come back to that. And this bit's annoying. So I'm going to use the clone stamp and grab a bigger brush. And I'm going to take from here and I'm just going to come along to that bit there and just create a bit and then use the patch tool to smooth out that line. Now we'll just carry on going round. I always think it's best to do your like corrections first. Let's see what content aware does. Actually, that sort of fixed it. That's not done too bad. I think it was just that like one point that was like bugging me a little bit. Okay, so we're going to go round and look for any blemishes, any threads, anything that we think needs to be removed from the image. Now, usually, I would say that you can get quite obsessive doing this. So I would say go to like 100%. So you can see down the bottom here, it says 200 at the moment. So if you zoom into 100% and you can see whatever it is that's bugging you, edit it off. That's a fair way to kind of make sure that you're doing it right. Doesn't mean you have to edit it at 100%. You can zoom in to do it. But I think that's probably the best and most fair way to make those decisions as to whether it's something that does or does not need editing. Let's have a look for the odd hair. I'm going to go around and do threads because I know we're going to have some thread issues from the last one. I've got a couple of marks here. Okay, so we've got some veins here that have caught the light just at like a really bit of a weird angle. So instead of trying to completely remove, we're going to soften them. I'm going to duplicate my layer using Control and J. And then we're going to put that layer on 50% using the 5 on my keyboard. I love a keyboard shortcut, speeds the whole process up. And then I'm just going to move this along to similar sort of skin here. And if I turn that off and on, you can see it's really just softened that area. If I think it's too intense, I've just flattened it with Control E. If you think that's too intense, you can just do it again and do it. You can just remove it, but that's just a way I find, especially with something like this where it's mostly in the shadows, that it softens. Okay, let's get these threads and around. The more you do this, I think the quicker you learn to scan an image and find all the different things that are bugging you. So I'm just using my clone stamp here. Badly, there we go. I'm just using that to go around the edges. But you find all the things that have like annoyed you and that will bug you. And another great way of learning what's going to irritate you is actually printing your own work, making sure you see your work in print at a size you would like to see it, because nothing stands out more than when it's like in print and you can see a thread or you can see something that's just irritating. Okay, happy with that. Now we're going to do our skin edit. So I'm going to just duplicate my layer 4 times. We're going to go to Filter, Other, High Pass. And we're going to make sure that we have no color. It's just the details that we can see. And we're going to put that layer on Overlay. Perfect. Now we're going to move down to our next layer down. And we are going to go on Blur, Surface Blur. Now I think this will be too intense because our last image was quite zoomed in. Oh, she's not too bad. We've got a bit of blur overwards, but actually that's not too bad. I'm going to turn that radius down a bit and we'll go with that. We're looking for the edges not to have like merged too much. Okay, so I'm going to turn that down a bit. And now I'm going to grab all 3 layers, stick them in a group, put my mask on, invert my mask using Control I so that nothing is visible at all. And I'm going to grab a brush and we're going to start drawing in with a white brush. So we're just drawing in the areas we want the skin effect to apply to. Now we're going to come down. Don't forget the arms. It looks very weird when someone does a lovely skin edit on a face and then arms, legs, or whatever other skin you can see is still exactly the same. It looks very odd. And then I can tone that down a little bit here. So happy. Didn't need a lot. Still got all the detail in the pores. I'll prove it. So we've still got all the detail. You can see not very much has changed. It's just a slight softening. Okay, so now I'm going to do my contour. Before I do, I'm going to click back on that other layer because that eye squiggle was bugging me. It's kind of good to get a little bit distracted when you're editing because you see things as you go that you're not going to see if you just do it rigid. You know, let yourself get off brief a little bit. Okay, so contour, Control, Shift, N, new layer. We're going to put it on to soft light. We're going to tick the box and we got a grey layer. We're going to use our dodge and our burn tool, which are located just here. And we are going to use them both on midtones at 20%. So both midtones, 20%. I'm going to go on my dodge first, and I'm just going to tap under the eyes a little bit. And all I'm looking at doing is enhancing the light that is already hitting that area. Perfect. Now we're going to move on to our burn tool. We're going to enhance that cheekbone and the nose there. Now, if you saw my Lightroom, you'll know that quite often we pull contrast away to get detail in shadows when we're processing our raw. So I have no problem doing this, adding that contrast back in exactly where I want it, because I know I'm only complementing the lighting that I already put in place. It's absolutely fine if you want to change your image entirely, but I like to stay with the sort of integrity of what the image was and what I meant for it to be. I'm not looking at changing the lighting. So all I'm doing is enhancing what was already there. Okay, now we're going to come down with the burn tool and I'm going to just come down the arm and down this bit and add slight highlight on the arm here. Perfect. Now, last thing is the hair. I'm adding a little bit of highlight in the hair just to pull that round. And if I turn that off and on, it's drastic, massive. It never feels like you're doing a lot, and yet it just goes poof. It just makes such a difference. And whoops, zoom in, and I'll show you again. Off and on. Crazy, absolutely crazy. So it's up to you on the opacity. If you want to turn the opacity down, you can just add a little enhancement. You can add a lot. It's completely up to you. I'd say I normally end up at like 60, 70%, but sometimes I'm more gentle with the brush strokes, and so I leave it at 100. Other times I go really intense and then turn it all the way down. I think it depends on the image, possibly how I'm feeling that day. It could depend on a lot of things. So I'm just using my dodge to go over the bottom of the eye, just a tiny bit, add a bit of glow in there. And I'm happy with that. Now, I want to add the same wallpaper pattern that I added on the last one. So if I go down and grab that, it's amazing how I've already forgotten what one I used. Was it that one? I feel like it was that one. I'm going to go with that one. And I've got the pattern on here. Now this time it doesn't fit perfectly. So I'm going to lock it and just make it that little bit bigger. And then we're going to put it on soft light and we're going to take that opacity down. Now I had the last one at like 13% or something, so I know that I'm going down to 15%. Let's try that trick again, shall we? So we're going to go on to the background. We're going to hit select subject. Hopefully it's going to pick her up and it's not going to miss the hat or anything. Ah, it's done well. Yeah, I was impressed with it last time. And then we're going to click back onto our wallpaper layer, hit the mask button. Now it's put the mask on her, so I'm going to click Control I and invert it. And that way I've got the wallpaper just in the background. Now, if you saw my last video, you saw that I slightly blurred out the wallpaper effect because I felt like it was unrealistic that it would be that sharp if it was taken in reality. So I'm going to click on the wallpaper. We're going to go Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and we're just adding a little bit of blur to that. So we can choose how much we want. See from there, yeah, about there. Because I think it doesn't look realistic if everything's too sharp. It can work with certain images, but that just didn't feel right. Okay, I like that. Now, lastly, I want to add, we're going to add a, do I go with the gradient or do I go with the solid color? I'm going to go with the solid color, right? So last time I used a gradient. This time I'm going to use a solid color. I'm going to use dark sort of reds in there. Now, using the mask, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and I'm going to grab my circle selection tool. I can't say that word, so I'm not even going to try. And I'm going to highlight. I can turn these off if you want to see where you are. So I'm going to highlight the area that I want to be visible. I'm going to right click and hit feather. And I'm going to feather. Now, I end up feathering between 600 to 800 pixels. I'm shooting medium format. My files are big. You might end up being on 200, 300, 400. You need to find what's right for you. I'm going to go to 800, 700. And then I'm going to put these layers back on. Click on my mask. Make sure I'm on the mask. And hit the delete button. And then I'm going to hit it again. Yeah, a couple of times just to see where I like it. Perfect. Control D to deselect the area, and then I can turn my opacity up and down. If you want to, you can also play with the layer modes. They will each do different things. You'll probably end up on darken or multiply like you see at the beginning here. But they'll each do, if I'll just click through, they'll each do different things depending on where you go. So I'll end up on darken, put it there. And it's just to create that little bit of a vignette pulling in, which I quite like. I think that looks quite good. Now that I'm looking at the image as a whole, couple of things I want to tweak. I don't think the coat is popping enough, so I'm going to go back onto my contour layer. I'm going to grab my dodge tool and I'm just drawing down the line here of where it was just catching, and then my burn tool just the other side, just so I've added a little bit of a pop to that coat. I think that looks good. I think it complements our other image. I'm happy with the angle. I'm happy with everything from there. I think it looks quite dramatic. So brilliant. That's all for me from now. So I will see you in the next one.